Skype for the video, and then yeah, OBS. So then it's just gonna record the screen capture, and then audio capture and all that stuff. Can you hear me? Okay.
Yeah, I can hear you.
Fantastic, fantastic. All right, and it's Jared, I believe, right?
Yeah, Jared.
Jared. Well, it's a pleasure to meet you,
Yeah,
Jared, and you
yeah,
know,
nice to meet
and so close to, physically close too. You're in Spokane, I'm
you. Yeah.
assuming, or something like that.
No, I'm about 30, 40 minutes from Vancouver, Washington, or Portland, Oregon. So I'm like in the southwest corner of Washington, essentially.
Oh, cool.
So I'm about, I think, flying is maybe a half hour to get to Seattle, but it's like 2 or 3 hour drive, I think, to get to
Hmm.
Seattle, depending on traffic and everything.
Yeah.
But
Well, right now there's no traffic.
yeah, yeah, there's no traffic.
That's for sure. That's fun.
Yeah, okay.
Mm.
Yeah. So yeah, I'll just start recording and then we can talk and chill and
Yeah.
or wait. Let me see. Is it recording? Oh,
Yeah, it's cool. Just refreshed a little bit.
oh, it just refreshed.
Yeah,
Okay.
that's okay. Yeah.
Yeah. Okay.
Yeah.
Okay, yeah. I guess I'll record it on both, I guess, just in case.
Whatever works. It's smart. Better to be
So
safe.
yeah, I was able to look at some of your stuff. I was meaning to kind of like, because all my guests kind of look up like more into them and stuff like that. But it seems like you do a lot of kind of poetry, but also painting and arts, I guess, artistic kind of stuff.
Hmm.
Um, how did you get kind of started in that, or is that something you've always done, or is that something over time you developed,
Hmm.
or
Well, it's a pretty good question. Honestly, it has not been something that I've always done. It's actually fairly recent in my life. You know, I'm 20. I'm 28 years old, and before I don't know, before the age of 23, like none of that even existed. Honestly, you know, like art, poetry, music, you know, my writing, whatever else I do. Honestly, I forget about a whole bunch of stuff. It all came to me after I finished my undergraduate. I was studying biology, biochemistry, all that stuff to go and become a doctor, probably neurology or
oh,
something like that. You know, and at that at that point, at least the person that I was, he did not find any value in art or any sort of expression. And honestly, I thought it was a waste of my time and people's time. You know, I remember saying to either myself or to other people, it's like, why does this exist? It has no purpose. You know, there's no purpose in this. It's like, oh, look at me dancing. Oh, look at me singing. Oh, look at me listening to music. What is this bullshit? And I remember saying this and believing it with my total heart. And after I finished my undergrad and you know got all that done, I went to go work with a doctor for about a year just to get my feet wet and see what it was like. And after a few weeks, he suggested that he wanted to send me to the med school that he went to in New York, and all I'd have to do is just tell him, and he'd get me in. He'd send me out there, and I would begin my uh, medical career in that sense. And after about a year, I decided that I was gonna go. I was like, let's do this. But on my way to my parents' house, because I wanted to let them know that I finally decided I'm gonna go with this path in my life. I had an epiphany that kind of just fast forwarded through life and just saw how my life would have progressed and how my family would have aged and what I would have accomplished in that time. It's over a decade to complete medical school all the way through if you want to specialize. And it kind of came to me, and I was like, wow, I would be trading the lives of my parents, whom I love very dearly, my sister, who was 6 or 5 at that time, and my stepdad, her dad, just died recently too. And I thought, okay, I'm going to be giving up this for her life, for the opportunity to educate her and to just experience my family's life move on through. And honestly, for me, it wasn't worth it. So I was coming home to tell everybody, I was like, hey, I'm gonna go be a doctor, to instead be like, hey, I'm gonna quit my job, I'm gonna leave my apartment, I'm gonna leave everything behind, I'm gonna come here and just help you run your business, basically, you know. And
okay,
honestly, that was the very first moment of my creativity. It was uh, my mom is a custom manufacturer builder, so that's where I started playing around with just expression in a way, just understanding that these hands can actually do something. And it came to a point where I taught myself how to program and run a CNC router and just kind of make it do what I wanted to do. And I remember one day distinctly, the thing was spinning. I don't know if you're familiar with the CNC router, but the thing's spinning and it coming to an end, and I have this drawing finished that I was doing for whatever reason, and it's like lightning bolt hit me, and I had this realization that I was the creator, the creator of my experience, the creator of my whole life, and that anything and everything that happens was my own choosing and my own doing, and if I wanted to do anything beyond it, it lies in my hands. And it was such a profound experience that ever since then I was like, all right, there's no excuses, there's no nothing, let's fucking do this. And now, if you can see, fast forward, like all of this stuff all around me,
Oh yeah.
just bleeding art in every possible direction, and just try to um, inspire others to basically do the same.
Oh yeah, yeah,
Hmm.
yeah. That's pretty cool. Yeah, I was reading. I was kind of starting to read. I think one of the books you gave me. You said you also had like a kind of a friend that kind of inspired you, like a female friend of yours. I thought kind of early on in the
Hmm.
dedication.
So so
Um,
so yeah, the book you're talking about is Expedition of the Psyche, and yeah, I wrote a dedication in the book because up until that point, or at least writing that book, I got into podcasting. I was like, I have this message and I want people to feel it, but I had
oh
nothing to
yeah.
show for it. Honestly, like here's me saying a whole bunch of words and I had nothing to show for it. So I'd talk and I'd record and I'd dive into people's minds. And honestly, podcasting such a beautiful and it's an amazing way to connect to people and truly see who they are. And initially, I just started diving into my friends' minds and just like, I know you. Let's talk about stuff. But what I realized is that I did not know them. I did not know them at all. Because the deeper I went, the more glorious the story they were telling me, the more they're sharing about their weaknesses and about their pains that they overcome, and how to being able to see how a person evolved from circumstances that would break so many people to an individual that was so beautiful and just radiant. It taught me unconditional love. It taught me that every person is battling some sort of battle. It taught me that everyone is living their own life to their best extent, and nobody from the outside would even have a glimmer of understanding of what's going on there. So the first episode down, I get this unconditional love download. I was like, damn, that was incredible. And then I keep doing that, and I don't know, maybe for like a year, I continue podcasting with and I make friends and all that stuff, but it didn't feel like it went anywhere. And then I met this woman, like she was and is just a stunning human being. Like I've been ever since art found me, I've had this transformation, and I dove into spirituality and I started like studying in Hinduism and meditation and basically any religion possible, just for just to see what is going on with me through the eyes of the world, right? I needed an explanation to understand what was happening with me, especially from my scientific background. I was like, something's going on. I don't have an experience or even words to describe it. I need to find this, and I found it in sacred text, you could say. So uh, as I was teaching art to people, I got hooked up with a welding professor in a community college, and I was helping him just kind of run the class and express creative, just creative mindsets. And I'm welding something, and sparks are flying, and then this woman comes in, and dude, I've been celibate for 3 years at that point. Just I wanted to focus on harboring that energy, and this woman comes in, and I'm just like, holy shit, you're gorgeous, and I'm just gravitated toward her. So she's with her dad because they're both taking this welding class, and I'm just like, all right, I don't want to make this weird, but I gotta do something here. So I wait for him to like go to the bathroom or something, and I was like, what's up? And I don't remember what I said, but started talking to her and just express my just appreciation for who she was and what she was doing. Just appreciate her art at that moment, and just really clicked with her. And I was like, all right, let's go. You want to go on a date? Let's do it. So we went on a date, and I I promised her a love that mm, was beyond that sexual nature that we're all taught, especially as men. We feel like we have to come in and we have to like close the deal. It's sex. Sex is how we see love,
Oh, yeah.
and that's how I was in the past. You know, here's a lady. You're attractive. Let me get there. Let me get in between them jeans. You know, it's like all just
Yeah.
straight to that. And having
Yeah.
that epiphany kind of come through, I just wanted to just give her love and love her for who she was, without any sort of attachments or without any sort of expectations. And she was like, "Who the fuck are you? What is happening here? Like, I've never felt this before." And I was like, "You're getting the psyche treatment or something. I don't know." Uh, and then it got to a point where we're hanging out, spending time, and I wanted to show her my life at that moment. So it's like, let's make a painting together. So we made this painting, and we connected and we chatted and all these things, and that was put aside and it was drying, and then we continued to see each other for a couple of weeks, and it came to a point where my urges still kind of took me over, and I'm pretty good at sales. I did sales for a long time, so I kind of understand how and especially science background. I understand how the mind works, and I know how to manipulate people if I want to. Now, I don't want to manipulate people, but at that moment, it felt like I was the, the sexual urges took over my the penis started thinking, so it made
Yeah.
something happen. I was like, all right, let me take care of you, like let me give you a massage, let me love you down, let me go downtown, all that stuff, let me take care of you. And at that moment, after it was all said and done, and she's like, that was amazing, and I was like, yeah, awesome. I had this again, another strike of lightning hit me, and I felt like I betrayed myself, that I betrayed her, that I hurt her, that I betrayed even the promise that I made her to just love her, and I needed to end it. So from that moment on, like there's been things rummaging around in my heart, and obviously we're not together or anything like that. Still friends, in a way. I don't we don't talk, but after that thing happened, she was the one who pushed me to start actually, walking the walk. I talked the talk just fine, but she pushed me to start walking the walk. Her parents, her family, even her. She's like, all right, yeah, you're sitting here, you're doing all these things, but like, what's going on? She just inspired me to take action into my own hands, and here I am, 2 books down, with albums of music published, just continue to push myself. It's like, all right, yeah, I have a message, but what is that message? What does it mean? How do I express it in ways that other people can see it, feel it, touch it, and attach it to themselves? And then how do they process it to get to the same place that I am? So honestly, she was the catalyst. Like, everybody played a role in my life, but she was a huge catalyst to get me to this life.
Oh, yeah, yeah, yeah,
It's pretty awesome.
yeah. Yeah, that's pretty interesting. Let me see. So you said music. I think I remember seeing you on Spot or checking out Spotify.
Hmm.
You've said you put out an album or two,
Hmm.
or uh, what? Did something get you kind of into that, or was that just something creative you wanted to work on, or was that?
Music.
Um, yeah.
Okay. So, and I do want to jump into like a lot more spirituality. Like, I love talking about myself,
Oh,
but
yeah.
so I got to a point where building yourself up, you're building your energy up. Like, again, like not having sex is a way to conserve your sexual energy. I got into the sacral system, or not sacral system, the what's the what's the medium points, the energy medium points in your body? I already forget what it's called.
Oh,
Thank
chakras?
Yes, thank
Are
you.
you talking about, yeah,
Yes.
chakra.
So
Okay.
so got into chakras, starting to understand that, how to move energy and that nature. And our basic uh, fundamental energies is our sexual energy, our sacral chakra. So I didn't even masturbate for like a good year, probably. Just expressed that urge through creative means. Again, just flinging paint on walls, and writing poetry, and just and no, I don't think dancing came into light just yet. Oh no, dancing was still there, but it was still uh, almost like a secret, because again, as
Oh,
men, we're taught like, you can't move your body that way. That's
oh,
feminine. What are you doing moving like that? What if your friends would see you? And I was still under that control, honestly. And but I got to a point where I really charged up that energy inside of me. And dude, I'm telling you, I felt like a golden giant on this planet. I felt like I closed my eyes and I felt like this massive, gigantic monster, like freaking Godzilla of gold. And I'm just like, oh, I'm just
Oh,
gonna
okay.
love everyone. And anytime I meet anybody, I just dump this love on them, and they look at me with like these eyes, and I'm just like, yes, you know. And it got to a point where I connected with a woman online after I published this first book, and she was also just like, she was a coach, she was a business coach, and helping people get through mental blocks to get to where they want to go. And God, she was a fantastic woman. I tell you, red hair, like just vibrant red hair. On her knuckles, she's got boss lady, right? And she's just
Oh, yeah.
bad, just fucking badass. And I'm just like, girl, I love what you're doing. I didn't hit on her or anything like that. Just messaged her to be like, hey, I just looked through some of your posts. The way you're interacting with people, you are such a beautiful human being that I can't even fathom it. The things that you're putting out into the world and the help that you're providing is unmatchable. I just want you to know that you are seen and you are valued. And she's like, well, who's this guy? So she messaged me, and we had a kind of back and forth, and it felt like we had a romantic interest kind of happening. So I was like, fuck it. So I just fly over to the UK because that's where she was, and start talking to her. It turned out to be more of a friendship than a romantic connection, which is fine. And so I ended up just kind of exploring the UK, and then France, and then just kind of moved my way down to Russia, which is where I'm from, and to go spend some time with my family. That whole time was the trippiest moment of my life, honestly. Um, I have a whole bunch of friends who are into mysticism and like really deep into spirituality, like deeper than me. And I reached out to him and I explained to him what was happening, just like signs, just the pictures talking to me, and not physically, but they're telling me things that was just pushing me into a different direction, and coincidences, and it was,
Yeah.
oof,
Like synchronicities, I think that's one way of kind of describing it and
precisely.
stuff like that.
Precisely, synchronicities left and right. And I called my friend and I was like, dude, what's going on? He's like, I think what you're saying is your kundalini is being awakened. You're having a kundalini awakening. And I'm like, all right, I don't know what the fuck that means, but cool. And you know and I went to Russia, spent some time there, kind of cooled down because I stayed in one spot and just really grounded. And then I came back to the States, and first of all, it was the first moment that I acknowledged the presence of God, or just this an entity that existed outside of us that connected everything. Because up until that point, I was an atheist through and through. I was like, all right, nothing, like, you can't come up with me with this shit, like, whatever. But it was that experience, that trip for like 3 months. It was I still have a hard time trying to conceptualize it, and I honestly gave up. Like in my heart, I know what it was, and I felt it, and I continue to reach that spot and expand it even further. But yeah, when I came back, I had that feeling of that understanding, and what goes up must come down. I didn't know how to handle it at that point. The deepest depression that I've ever experienced. The deepest. Like, I didn't know how I was gonna get out of it. I was working nights as a janitor, cleaning up after people, and then that added up to my just depression, and it got to a point where I just wanted to scream. I just wanted to rip my heart out and just bleed all over everything. And luckily enough, there was a guitar in the corner of my room that I haven't touched in, I mean, probably a decade. Last time I played guitar was like to try to get chicks in high school, and I sucked because, like, yeah, look at me. I didn't know anything.
Yeah. Yeah.
And so I picked up this guitar, and with this weight on my heart, just start strumming and just screaming, from the top of my lungs. And it got to a point, I felt relief in that moment. I felt relief, and I was like, ah. So you just grabbed onto it for my dear life. Every day for 12 hours, I'd go to work. I put in my 6 or 7 hours. It was a huge theater I was cleaning, so clean everything, come back in the middle of the night, and just strum the day away for 12 hours, play music every single day. And each day we got a little better, got a little better, got a little better. I got a little better at playing, and it came to a point where I decided to start writing my own songs, and one thing led to the next, performing, and I don't do anything half-assed. So let's start publishing, connect with the community, and
Yeah.
now this is where
Yeah.
I am. But honestly, I credit music to so many things in my life that I don't think I could have handled it in any other way. It's an amazing grounding force, and honestly, it's magic. Like if you wanted to focus your intentions to create your life in a way that you want it to go, pick up an instrument and dive deep into the things that move you and the things that I don't know that you care about, or just the basal part of humanity, and express from that point. And I've seen like your life physically just starts to rearrange to how you're feeling.
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah, that's pretty interesting music and all. I've never really made any on my own or anything. Yeah, you said you wanted to kind of talk about spirituality. What kind of stuff do you kind of, are there any teachers or coaches or kind of, or do you just kind of read a lot of different stuff, or is it because I know for me, I go
Mm-hmm.
like I started out with kind of when I was younger, kind of Bruce Lee because he studied philosophy, and then it was kind of Eckhart Tolle later, and then
Mm.
as like kind of Teal Swan, but also like other people like Josh Mason. Is there any like um, schools? Like, are you more of a fan of like because I'm a fan of like
Mm-hmm.
kind of like Stoicism, but also
Mm-hmm.
Objectivism, but also like Zen and Buddhism, and a lot of other ones
Mm-hmm.
too. But is there any ones you kind of gravitate towards, or that you kind of like to talk about,
Mm-hmm.
or kind of study under, I guess you'd say?
Okay, I understand 100%. I do want to know how you got into spirituality, so I want to dive into that.
Yeah.
Um, Everything you just said. So I'm more of an omnist now. I believe that everything is a path to the truth. I believe that I believe that we individuals are gods. We're the creators of our own reality, and we are a part of a greater connection. That whatever it may be. And again, the word God is just the thing that we came up with. You call it the universe. You call it um, what Brahman, or just whatever it may be. It's there. It's ever present, and we are just an extension of that ever present energy that is there. So, like personally, I I go out there and I try to live my life as authentically as possible, and then like I mentioned before, and try to notice things that are happening, and then go out into find something that explains that. And I found some things in Christianity. I found some things in Judaism, in Islam. I found things in Buddhism, obviously. Ram Dass, I love the man. Alan Watts, what an amazing human being. Holy shit. Terence McKenna, please. Right? Yeah, Stoicism, philosophy, literally anything and everything that has been published in philosophy I've read it, or I've listened to it through a podcast. Which shout out to Philosophize This. I don't know if you listen to Philosophize This. Um,
Oh, no, I haven't actually.
Dude, Philosophize This. It's a podcast. Also, there's a dude in Tacoma, uh, or in Seattle or something, and like huge podcast, incredible production value, just super amazing storytelling. Like I don't even know how to envelop it. It's such a valuable
Oh, yeah.
asset. Like anybody and everybody that even thinks about wanting to learn about philosophy, this is the place they should go to get to to I guess feel the sexiness of philosophy, and then they can buy a book and then really dive deep into the minds of the philosopher that he was talking about. But he does an amazing job to expressing the ideas and like making it sexy and funny. He's hilarious. Uh,
Oh, yeah. Yeah,
yeah. So I
that's
don't.
always a good. It helps.
Hmm. Well, yeah, because I mean, I don't know about you. So I took philosophy class in college, and at that moment, again, there's a lot of talk about God and like splitting hairs over word meanings, and I'm just like, what the fuck is this happening? And you go through the motions, and you're like, all right, he's saying that there's somebody came around and there's a watch, and you're gonna say that a man made this watch, but if you're the only man in this world, and you're like, what are you even talking about? But then you go to it from a perspective of somebody that first of all loves it, that first of all lives it, or second of all lives it, and then actually wants to portray that in a way that's going to entice other people. Because it doesn't matter what you talk about; it's all about the framing. If you can frame it in a way that somebody's going to find interesting, they're going to dive deeper. Especially something like philosophy, the study of life, the study of knowledge, the study of wisdom, the study of the heart. You're if you can make that sexy and give it to a person, they're going to sit through the most mundane and boring conversation between Plato and Socrates, and they're going to look for the things that interest them. They're like, holy shit, there it is. Now I understand what virtue means. Now I know how to be virtuous. Now I know what liberty means. Now I know what to ask for from my government, or actually demand from my government, or just be free, what that means, and not ask for anybody's permission, like a self-sustaining
Yeah.
human. So it's like there's so many things that can push us toward a life of that you actually want to live, that you wake up to and get excited to live, and it all starts with just these small questions. So I know that school didn't do it for me, but once I got to this point and then started diving deep into all of these, splitting hairs again, oh man, I found so much satisfaction and beauty in it. My gosh. But how did you get into spirituality? And what is something that you are, that maybe you say, okay, I'm a Buddhist, or that you identify as?
I don't really. I have a hard time kind of identifying as one single thing. I think it's a combination of things. I think I even had a high school teacher that kind of said that she has a hard time kind of identifying, as Christian or Buddhist, because there's a lot of stuff that kind of it's kind of similar. It kind of bleeds or blends over and stuff like that. Like even like stuff like I've found like Stoicism and like Zen have a lot of in common, even though one's Western, one's Eastern. Actually, I sort of through what is it? How did I get? So I did actually when I was a teenager. I actually had like really bad depression, and it's kind of like I have a family history of things, and I think it kind of started out mostly from that. Is I was just kind of reading, and then I also got into kind of Bruce Lee. Um, he was one of the main things that got me into like martial arts, but also eventually I found out he's really talented, although he's passed away in like philosophy, spirituality, and a lot of other things. Like he was really like multi-talented. He did it all. But I also so I read some of his books because some of his books have a lot of philosophy in them, but also kind of some Buddhist teachings. And I know that when I was kind of in my early 20s, I was a really big fan of Eckhart Tolle.
Mm-hmm.
I really liked. I've only read I think one or two books of his, but Paulo Coelho,
Mm-hmm.
The Alchemist.
Yeah.
Um, I really like that book. That really changed my mind because I actually around the same time read kind of the 4 Hour Work Week, which isn't really a
Oh,
philosophy book, but it's about business
hell yeah, dude! 4 hour
kind
work
of
week is the
productivity book.
best.
Yeah. And so and then actually what was interesting was kind of I was hospitalized, and it was actually for mental health reasons for about 4 years ago. But after I came out, I found out that I was a part of a Facebook group because I think I joined a lot, and then people are invited me. But it was Teal Swan's kind of Facebook group, or she calls it what is it, Teal Tribe or whatever. And so I've watched a lot of hers, and hers are interesting because she has a very distinct background. She's it's very new age, but she also I know in a lot of her videos, she's not super serious like a lot of these other philosophers. She puts in a lot of memes and like a lot of humor in it as well too.
Mm-hmm.
So I feel like, especially because I think she's probably around my age, maybe a little bit younger. She probably appeals to more of the millennials. And I know I've never actually met because I've met a few people because she has a few books. She has a book on the completion process, but also one was just on loneliness, like the anatomy of loneliness.
Mm.
And I know there's a few people that are completion process practitioners or do that some in Portland, but I've never actually met them. I've talked to them, and I was actually on a Skype call with one of them recently. But yeah, that's how I got into
Mm-hmm.
spirituality, and also because I've trained in martial arts in the past. It's been a while since I've really trained regularly, uh, mostly due just to my health. But I trained in several martial arts styles for several different years, and I
Mm.
I kind of absorbed some of that as well too.
God, that's
But
beautiful.
I also pick up I don't know like different shows and TV shows, and also even like some anime has some kind of deep spiritual philosophy. I don't know if you're a fan of anime or whatever.
But I mean, look at Avatar: The Airbender, right? On Nickelodeon
Yeah.
for everyone to see. Like such great like meditation, but such great value provided to people. And I didn't even know it until like a couple of years ago. I was like, oh shit, this has been in front of my face this whole time. But
Yeah. Yeah, I remember watching a video, I think it was a video about him, the Avatar, or in the Avatar series, explaining kind of chakras,
mm-hmm,
but also kind of, I think, meditation and enlightenment
mm-hmm,
and stuff. I've never actually seen much of it, but I've
mm-hmm.
seen a lot of other ones. Like I don't know, like one I've been watching. Right, well, I need to catch up on is Naruto a lot. There's actually quite a bit of philosophy in that too.
I should rewatch that because when I was watching, I don't think I picked up on it. I'm gonna have to. I'm gonna have to.
Yeah. Well, there's quite a few episodes. There's Naruto, which is on Netflix,
Mm-hmm,
and that's 300 episodes.
mm-hmm,
And then there's Naruto Shippuden when he's it takes place after he's done some training. And he's more of a teenager, and it's
mm-hmm,
up to him and his adult, and that's about 500 episodes. And then
mm-hmm.
there's several movies, so there's quite a bit to catch up on.
Yeah,
And I'm not even halfway through Shippuden actually.
Uh, I don't think I ever started with Shippuden. I think I watched all the way through just the first Naruto, and then yeah, I don't think I think whenever Shippuden came out, I was just like out of it. Like anything else, just moved on to
Oh
something
yeah,
different. But
yeah, and it's continuing on because they have Baruto, which is technically his son, and that's a little bit different, but I like it as well too.
mm-hmm.
But
Anime.
yeah, but also like some of one anime that also got me into martial arts, but also has some actually pretty deep philosophical things in it is actually Dragon Ball Z. Um,
Bro, yeah.
is it? It's I think it's this scene I never really realized till I kind of looked at it and watched it more, but it's the scene where Vegeta basically goes kind of like a Super Saiyan. Is it he kind of lets go of his ego and confidence, and then it just kind of naturally comes into him, very like Zen like. Is it he was kind of pushing himself and trying to get it, and then it just comes to him after he's pushed himself to like the brink or the edge,
Mm-hmm.
and I just thought it was like really mind blowing that they
Mm-hmm.
have that anime of
Oh,
all things.
oh. I mean, everything is a vehicle for story. Every story is a vehicle for survival knowledge, and I mean, why would anime be any different? It's and
Yeah,
spirituality is one of the greatest survival knowledges that we can find. Honestly,
yeah,
that's fascinating. And then starting with Bruce Lee, I think that's amazing. Like he is such an incredible human with so much positivity and so much skill to show precision. Like for me, I have this understanding of bringing focus to a fine point. If you can bring focus to a fine point, you can tear through like the fabric of reality. Honestly, like if you can truly focus on something so deeply, then I mean, again, Bruce Lee is the perfect example. He is a superhuman. He's a freaking superhuman. And all the quotes that you
yeah,
can hear from him, that's exactly what he's saying. Like, flow like the water. Like don't create any resistance. Just move with whatever's coming, and that speaks deeply about just letting go of our attachment to the maybe to the person that we are at this moment, or to the ideas of our desires even, and just kind of take each moment as it comes, and do your best, and um, don't be afraid to transform with transforming times, which right now that is the perfect example of what people can be doing. It's like, yeah,
yeah,
quarantine. I don't know if, well, yeah, you're also in quarantine. We're all in quarantine except for Florida, I guess.
yeah.
Assholes.
Oh,
They're sitting there
yeah,
sipping mimosas on the beach.
yeah. Yeah, that's kind of nuts. Yeah, it's I don't know. I don't know. It's crazy all the stuff that especially recent events. I don't know what your take is on it, but I listened to a variety of sources. Like I even listened to what is it? Like I know Teal Swan has put out some videos. I haven't seen him yet, but Josh Mason has put out several ones, and I'm a big fan of his.
Mm-hmm.
And then even Clyde Lewis, which he's more of a paranormal, like kind of conspiracy theory, but it's interesting to hear all these different sides and stories and how it's like kind of changed. And I actually did, because this is like kind of a side project, is my main job is my first full week I was let go, temporarily off, like on my
Mm-hmm.
third day of like my first full week
Wow.
actually.
Wow.
But it's given me a lot more time to kind of work on the podcast and other things, and I think I've been using my time pretty wisely for
That's
the
good.
most part.
So
But
what made you want to start the podcast?
it was a mix of things. Actually, there was a kind of website and coach, Pat Flynn of Smart Passive Income,
Mm-hmm.
and he said one area that's because from my understanding, because I've tried like selling e-commerce and I've done a YouTube channel and a Twitch channel. I've done blogging,
Mm-hmm.
but I never really made that much or much traction or much of an audience. But he said that podcasts compared to YouTube and blogs, there's like millions of YouTube channels and blogs and stuff like that. But podcasts, there's only maybe around a million or so. So there's a lot less, and there's a lot more opportunity there.
Mm-hmm.
And he said it's a good way to kind of network and connect with people, but also make some money and open up like kind of new uh, business, kind of businesses and business experience and stuff like that.
Mm-hmm.
So that was a big motivator because he had kind of a free training series and he has a course
Mm-hmm.
as well too. So I decided why not, especially because I have a book and I uh, to help kind of promote that, but also to
Mm-hmm.
kind of expand on it as well and learn kind of from others as well too.
So why did you pick spirituality, alternative health as a topic of every podcast?
Um, I don't, um, because I mean, that's what the book is kind of on, and
Mm-hmm.
that's kind of what I'm going more towards, especially with kind of my health, because over time starting out, because I've had health problems like probably ever since I was a child, but especially now since I was 21, I've had I don't know, I got really sick, but I never really fully recovered. And
Mm-hmm.
I found out later that's a lot what happens to people with kind of Lyme disease and chronic fatigue syndrome and
Mm-hmm.
fibromyalgia.
Mm-hmm.
And so I really had to almost be like my own health detective and
Mm-hmm.
work on it myself because I've I respect kind of like the kind of conventional like medical establishment and what they're doing now with COVID and stuff.
Mm-hmm.
But when it comes to certain things like kind of more chronic and complex, it's you really have to kind of dive deep and do a lot more and kind of have to do I'm almost like a human guinea pig
Oh yeah.
sometimes
Oh yeah.
with stuff I try to. Especially as of late, I've been trying to kind of do that as of late. One thing is I've lost a lot of weight in the past, but recently um, it's been really difficult for me. So that's one thing I'm focusing on, but also some other things as well too.
Mm-hmm.
Detox and detoxification is kind of a big thing as well too.
Mm-hmm.
Uh, and also, one of my kind of, I guess he's kind of someone I look up to and mentor, Josh Mason. He's a big fan of, don't focus on kind of, making money or really anything else. Focus on your health, and then naturally you'll kind of
Mm-hmm.
be able to work on those other things, and then that will grow, and you'll attract more money and stuff like that.
Mm-hmm.
And because that's what happened to him, because he got really sick, and he basically kind of cured or fixed himself too.
Mm-hmm.
Um,
No, I completely
but
agree. I completely agree. And like health is like for me that was my first initial step into just freedom because health is freedom. If you don't have health, you can't go out there and you know climb a mountain or see your friends or anything of that nature.
yeah,
If you're sick or
yeah,
you're twisted ankle or anything of that nature, you don't have the ability. Even if you have the desire or even the money and the means to do it, you can't accomplish it. And that's unfortunate. That's what like personally that's what transformed my life is cutting out all non-organic food. Pesticides does not belong in the body. Cut out the fluoride. Like, I even remember learning about what fluoride does to bacteria and why we use it in toothpaste. And I was even asking the professor. I was like, why are we using this if it destroys like life? I'm life, and you're putting this into my body and sure in
oh
minute
yeah,
dosage, but like
yeah,
it's insanity. It's insanity. If anybody wants to
yeah,
know more, like I can get into the biology of it, but it doesn't even matter
yeah,
that much. Uh,
yeah, yeah. That's one thing I haven't used uh, like toothpaste with fluoride in years, probably 5 or 6 years, maybe even longer.
hmm
I usually use Tom Payne and I actually iodine I've heard is a good iodine and a few other things is kind of good way to kind of detox the and heal the thyroid, but also pineal gland as well too.
Mhm.
So,
Mhm.
and you can get kind of iodine droplets. There's a few different ones. There's nascent and what is it? Um, I think some kind of sublingual one, but both two of the ones I've tried are both pretty good.
Mhm.
They seem to help too. But
Mhm. Well, that's really good. I used Tom's for a long time too, and now I just make some stuff. I put some charcoal and some baking soda and maybe a little coconut oil. Just mix it in. Maybe some peppermint essential oils. There you go. I mean, back in the day, we used to brush our teeth with the dry powder anyway. You know, so just it is what it
oh
is.
yeah, yeah,
Can you tell me more about your book? I'm really interested about your book. In your book.
yeah. So I started. Um, so I started actually writing years ago to kind of make a little bit extra money, but also because I kind of do a lot of research and I have probably around 100 articles or more, maybe articles and blog posts like all throughout the internet. If you look up on hub pages or ezine articles or even my own blog under J Helt or Jared Helt.
Mhm.
And so I started kind of creating Facebook pages because I would write on a variety of different topics, everything from like video games to business to kind of alternative health and spirituality.
Mhm.
And so I started kind of creating Facebook pages to kind of narrow down, um, like Psynautical is one of them, kind of the alternative health, but also like some entrepreneur stuff and other stuff. And so I decided, since I have enough content, I can just put a lot of that past stuff into a book.
Mhm.
But I've also been expanding on it, and I've been kind of different therapies or treatments that I've tried or interested in trying. I kind of research and I kind of add to them continually. So it's not something like a book that I just publish and then never work on again. It's something I try and update pretty regularly.
Mhm.
I haven't recently. Just because I've been working on other things. But there's a lot of different alternative therapies, and there's
Mhm.
resources. And I've even thought, because I have a background as a cook and prep cook, is even
Oh.
having like some kind of different recipes and other stuff because I do a lot of what is it? I do like kind of like the bulletproof tea, but
Mhm.
also like golden milk and other stuff like that. But also other things like I kind of like with my water, like I usually add like a little Himalayan salt and vinegar and other things, and I
Mhm.
kind of experiment and do different things
Mhm. Mhm.
and put it in my book.
Mhm. That's perfect. Do you do like green juice or do you experiment with keto, ketosis, intermittent fasting, anything of that nature?
Um, I have with keto, and I've done kind of some intermittent fasting. Keto, I've kind of done off and on in the past. Juicing, I actually am a big fan of juicing. Although it is kind of, I have a juicer, it is kind of spendy because you need a lot of different veggies and fruits
Mhm.
and get a significant amount. But I do think it is because from what I've heard, is that a lot of due to modern kind of farming practices is that vegetables, fruits and vegetables have a lot less mineral content, vitamin and mineral content, and so one way to kind of boost that up is to basically just juice,
Mhm.
which takes out the fiber, but it has all the other things. And
Mhm.
so I've done that um, in the past. I've um, juiced and probably had I don't know, probably several cups at a time. I've never
Mhm.
done like a juice fast,
Mhm.
just because I haven't had enough veggies and fruits to
Mhm.
do that yet. But um,
Do you have a masticating juicer or just a high speed regular juicer like Costco ones they sell?
um, I honestly don't know. I don't.
So
I don't think
if
it's.
does it go fast? Does it make a lot of noise and just and then just spit out a whole bunch of pulp?
Yeah, it spits out a bunch of pulp. It kind of, what is it? It spins and you push down and it kind of shoots the juice out one end and
Mhm.
it spits the pulp out the other end.
So
Um,
it's probably just I mean it's probably just a regular high speed juicer. It's good for like fruit like oranges or something that has a high juice content.
yeah,
For greens, I highly suggest a masticating juicer. It mimics the chewing process of the mouth, and it's like honestly the amount the dryness of the pulp that comes out is uncanny. Like the juice you get like 3 times more juice out of these juicers. I have an Omega. VRT 350. Like they're old now, but they're incredibly quality
Okay.
machines. Like I went on eBay and bought a refurbished one for like $100. The brand new one's like 300-400 bucks. But honestly, like
Okay.
I've used that machine religiously for half a decade. Every morning, wake up, you know, 'cause at this point you can get a modest amount of vegetables and a modest amount of fruit, so you don't have to like break the bank, and you get a nice cup or even more, and you can put that down. You know, you get your enzymes and your nutrients in one day, and then just kind of steer better throughout the day as you go along with your
Oh,
diet, especially.
yeah.
Yeah, definitely a
Yeah.
mess getting juicer.
Yeah. I may look into that. I think there was one that like Josh Mason recommended, but yeah, I do want to upgrade because this is kind of someone bought it for me just because I've just really wanted a juicer. And it works fine for me, but eventually I probably will.
Mm-hmm.
I also want to get a Vitamix because I do make
Oh,
smoothies from time to time, and I have one that's similar to kind of Vitamix, but not quite as good. And I've noticed, especially with smoothies, it makes a lot more, I guess, smooth, but also like they're just the best.
mm-hmm. Oh, I completely agree. I got a Vitamix. It's the same thing. Just take my juice sometimes, put it in the Vitamix, add a little bit of MCT oil, add a little bit of a little protein powder, bone broth, everything nice and clean. Some what's it called? Collagen. Just really mix it in, and because like I said, health is number one. If you don't take care of your health, you have nothing. So every day, take care of health, then take care of the mind. You're already in a better place, and then you can attack the day in whatever way you can. You're presenting the best self that you can, and then if a big job comes around, or if or a client or whatever, and you can't get through whatever problem is going on because your diets is failing, like that's it's a sad moment to know that you couldn't show up for life because of maybe something that you're lacking. Like something simple like an ingredient. Amino acids. Like shit.
Yeah, yeah,
It's unfortunate, but it is what it is. So that's why tackle that health.
yeah,
That's how that goes. So
yeah.
I wanted to ask you too, just more about like your own personal spiritual belief. Like what do you think is going on in this world? What is your philosophy of life, and how do you approach life with that philosophy?
Um, hmm, may have to think about it a little bit. Um, uh, I don't know. I've always been, I guess I've always been pretty, I don't know, I kind of have, what is it, different kind of parts or kind of like archetypes if we're going into kind of like psychology.
Mm-hmm.
Because growing up, I am a big fan of like science. But I also, have like a very kind of like spiritual side. And, my parents, at least my mom especially, was raised pretty strictly Catholic, but I wasn't really raised that way. I mean, I actually live close to a church,
Mm-hmm.
which I don't even go to that often. And I don't know. I mean, there is a church that, what is it? He's kind of different looking. He's not like the typical pastor. Like he has long dreads. He looks more like he'd be into New Age or like I don't
Mm-hmm.
know reggae or whatever. But uh, but I like him, and it's Daniel Fusco. He's kind of a local pastor that I listen to. But I don't know. I've just always been kind of open minded, and I'm trying to pull different kind of different, I guess, from different teachers and stuff like that. I have had, um, I do like kind of have to work on myself a lot because I do find, especially lately, like people have noted, like, I kind of have empathic qualities. So I tend to actually, I'm actually high functioning on the autism spectrum too. So I do
Oh.
tend to get So I do tend to get kind of easily overwhelmed, and I
Mm-hmm.
kind of have to really work on myself and do like self care. And I do tend to. I think it was kind of like a Reiki circle recently when he said you kind of take on or absorb a lot of the toxicity of others,
Mm-hmm.
which I thought was kind of interesting. But yeah, I try to. I don't know. I'm pretty open minded. I usually treat about everyone with kindness and stuff like that. I mean, I do have kind of I don't know, it's just like the masculine or it's just like my martial arts training. I do have kind of like a short temper when it comes to certain things,
Hmm.
but I do work on that.
Hmm.
Yeah. Does that kind of answer the question,
I mean,
or do you want me to kind of?
anything that if you have if something gets inspired out of you, whatever it may be from a question
Yeah.
I ask, that is the right answer. You know, that is the right answer.
Okay. Yeah. Yeah.
So,
Yeah.
honestly, like autism, especially if you're high functioning autistic, like you are the superhero of the next generation. Like you are the next step in evolution, at least in my personal belief, because autism, you have different combination of just whatever it is, and you're thinking differently, and it's that thought, that different process of ideas, that different line of thought that will bring something new to the world that right now we're too oblivious to see. So the big, like, it might be hard, and I know from personal experience. I don't know if I'm autistic or anything of that nature, but just thinking differently. But if you really just buckle down, and especially when you're saying you're empathic, personally same way, and build up healthy boundaries around yourself that protect you and serve others at the same time, you can take your mindset and you can take your different way of thinking to a next level that you will be able to help so many people and bring so much value to their lives that you probably don't even know. Honestly, it's there's so many of us that are living in a I'll just say a one track mind. Here's the truth, obey by it, or live by it, or just put it up, wear it like a cloak, like a face, like a personality. And it's those individuals that are thinking a little bit differently and that are experiencing life just a smidge off the beaten path. As long as you can hone it, and as long as you can embody it, and again, boundaries, healthy boundaries is one of the most important parts, especially for empaths. If you can get those things done, my gosh, you will sparkle like a fucking star, and you will bring joy to people. Believe me, believe me.
Yeah.
But what? So I wanted to ask you this then, to follow up on the last one. Uh, if you were to tell somebody how to live the best life, right, based on your knowledge, because I know you said you into stoicism, and Bruce Lee, and Paulo Coelho. You probably read the Four Agreements too. I think all spiritual people read the Four Agreements. Um, and if
Yeah.
not,
I think
yeah,
I've heard that at some point.
it's four things, and he just goes into it. It's like keep your
Yeah.
word clean, or just like stay true to your word. I don't remember the other three, honestly. But if you were to describe the best way to live a life, in your understanding of philosophy and all the knowledge that you've had, how would a person approach that?
Hmm. Um. Especially lately, I think like kind of I would say health is like number one. I mean, if you have any kind of even if you kind of have like if it's even normal average, I think you can do things to kind of boost that or with like biohacking or all kinds of different things to really like improve yourself. But there is like diet and stuff like that. Um, I don't know. Especially like because Timothy Ferriss's book,
Mm-hmm.
4 Hour Work Week. The time I read it, I was about 21. That was really kind of eye opening and kind of game changing. And I do think like you know I don't know. I have mixed feelings kind of about like kind of like a regular like job or 9 to 5, just because I've had kind of some bad experiences in the past. But I think if you have like some kind of idea or something you want to work on or something, I'd really like encourage people to kind of try it, whether it's either a business or even if it's like a blog or YouTube channel or whatever. As long as you like get started and working on it, um, because I don't know, I see a lot of people kind of, I guess, kind of get kind of settled or complacent. I don't know if it's due to kind of like social programming or it's just
Mm-hmm.
kind of how society is. And I see that especially now with kind of everything going on. I see like some really good things about it, but I also see some really bad parts about it. And I think that moving forward, it may change like how the economy, society, and everything is changing. But yeah, I would say to I don't know, but I've also been a big fan of I'm usually pretty honest and usually pretty blunt and direct. Um, I believe in that too. I don't really like to, and I guess try and kind of stay humble, but also there's I forget it's a Japanese word or philosophy, but always kind of have an open mind and be willing to learn more from others, and kind of always be learning as well too. Um,
Hmm.
yeah, I think that's about it as far as I can come up with.
I mean, those are some very powerful thoughts, definitely. Like, if you think you're a fool, you'll be the smartest in the room every time, because then you're willing to learn from every single person there. Health, obviously, yeah, amazing. I think you definitely hit some really important ones. Um, there's there's something that came to mind. I do fuck Timothy Ferris, my friend. Tim Ferris is the best thing. I think that was one of the few podcasts that I found. Besides Joe Rogan's, obviously, because he's the greatest at podcasting. But yeah, then I found Tim Ferriss, and man, I really just appreciate that man. Just breaking down people's superpowers. It's like, how did you get there? Because you're not superhuman. We all know that. None of us are superhuman. How did you establish that? Oh, it's just this line of action. Go for it. Like, I love him so much. The accessibility of such potent information is so valuable, and he just sitting there. There you go. You can have it.
Yeah,
His other books are
yeah.
amazing too.
Um, I don't actually. Well, I've been trying to listen to kind of more podcasts, but one of the few that I listen to is Joe Rogan, Bulletproof by Dave Asprey, but also Timothy Ferriss because they have a lot of interesting guests and they have a lot of different interesting topics and stuff like that, and they're always really like information packed. Even especially with recent events, I think Timothy Ferriss did one or two episodes on COVID-19 and kind of Corona and how to help and stuff like that too,
Mm-hmm.
which I thought was pretty cool
Mm-hmm.
of him too. I actually linked to I think one or two of those in my latest because I did do kind of an episode on kind of coronavirus, just kind of things that kind of protect yourself or whatever. I didn't really dive into like any kind of conspiracy theories or saying there's like a cure or treatment because I don't want to spread false information or things like that the episode just being taken down too.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. That's funny. I mean, that's smart. It's like, if I try my
Yeah,
best also to live with integrity, to live in truth, because there's plenty of misinformation going around, and there's plenty of clickbait even going around too, to just to get the views or to get the listens. So it's like, hey, here's something that I know, at least I know to be true to an extent, or to in my own experience. Like, I'm not gonna sit here and pretend to be this, that, or the other thing. But here's what I know about this, and here's what I know about this, and here's something you can take for yourself. So I respect that greatly. That's why, like, personally, I had a gentleman ask me to do a quick recording for his podcast about COVID-19 and just mental health, and I was like, all right, well, obviously I'm no therapist, but I am very knowledgeable about my personal mental health, so I'll share to you with all the things that I've done to stay grounded, and it's just go out there, be creative, talk to people, stay useful, and just try not to start be present in the moment, in a way that just letting go of the worries by finding information that would ease your financial situations. I know it's easy to say, especially for I guess me sitting here, but um, like mortgages, you can cancel those now. You can cancel, like, I cancel my auto insurance because I know I'm not driving anywhere. You can apply for unemployment. So many people have, and I know there's a lot more opportunities to get help and at least be present right here, right now. Like, tomorrow, shit might just happen, and I don't have no control over that. But I know I have control over this moment right here, right now. And right now, I'm having a wonderful conversation with you, Jared. And you're like, nothing. If the corona hits me now, ugh, fucking Rona, what are you doing? Like, all right, I'll deal with that then. But in this moment, I have my family all around me. I have these pretty drawings behind me, or whatever the flip they are, and I have nice, loving conversations happening. So it's
yeah, yeah,
it's it's easy to say that, but it does take practice to just, like, all right, what is around me, and what can I control? Because obviously we can't control the corona, we can't control the quarantine, we can't control the lack of work. What can you control? So I definitely something that's important. That's happening. Um,
yeah.
yeah. I want to know so much things about you. I want to know so many things about you.
Okay.
Uh,
Yeah, I may have to cut this short just because I've
That's
just other stuff going on
okay.
and stuff.
It's okay.
Not that I don't want to stop talking to you. We could always do a future episode, or if you want to do it. This seems like kind of like a good point to kind of,
Yeah.
I guess, kind of end it. But we can set something up in the future. We'll do more episodes or just talk on Facebook or whatever. And I'll likely have this episode up probably within the day or two.
Okay.
Just need to upload it to a few different channels and stuff like that. But
I hear that. Yeah, no, I completely agree. Definitely, we're friends on Facebook already. I appreciate your take on life, and I look forward to learning more. And we'll see what happens between just stuff like that. See how we play off each
yeah,
other.
yeah,
Yeah, I
okay.
definitely appreciated this. All right.
Yeah.
Enjoy your day. Stay healthy. Don't die unless I don't know. Unless you want to, I guess. I don't know.
Yeah.
Do you, man? Do you?
Yeah.
100%. Hi, bud.
Yeah. Same. All right. See ya.
It's a great pleasure.